Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll, and today we're going to revisit a build I've done before, but since I did it the first time, and the one I showed was the first time I ever tried it, I've learned a little more about how to build it, what to do, and how to go forward with it. So this will be a hopefully slightly more advanced version of that original video. Now, I'm not a huge fan of trying to force builds, especially this season, but with a Morellonomicon and a Zeri, I'm thinking the Seraphine build. Then I get offered some prismatic augments. Blue Battery 2 would be really good for this because it'll involve a ton of casting. Now, if I'm going to head into this build, I like to start it with Lagoon, because then at least I'll start getting additional rewards. So I'm ultimately looking to 2-star the Senna, and then hopefully if I can get a Zac, I know I'm on the right track. Right now, Talia is my expendable character, so I'm going to go ahead and make the Morellonomicon on her as a item holder for Seraphine when she comes in. Zeri and Zac are going to remain a part of this build no matter what, so they stay as is until I get items that fit them. The reason I haven't put the tier on anyone is because it could either be the Spear of Sojin or a Protector's Cowl, depending on what I get next. And the items literally say, take your choice. I decide to go ahead and go with the Spear of Sojin, so now I have 2 of my 3 Seraphine items, all set and ready to go. And the other reason I made that choice is because we are using Lagoon, so more casting the better. We get more gifts. In this case, it's just 2 Leonas, so it's 2 additional gold, but the more I can cast, the more I'm going to get out of this. As you can see, I've switched Talia for Kaisa, and the reason is that she can hit multiple targets with her ult, which will set more people on fire, and when more people are burning, the more likely we are to win. Now, there are several key items in this build, and part of it is building up Graves. I decided to go with the BF sword right now because I know I'm going to want to make a Bloodthirster at some point later once we get Graves into the match. At this point, I'm holding back my rolling because I want the best shot of getting the 2s and 3s that I can. I really don't need any more 1s for this, so it's really about getting Seraphine and Zac going forward. Now, once again, I sense the hand of Gary watching over my match, as a key component of this is also adding Whispers. I've managed to pick up the Crazy Plant Lady, but now they gave me a Pantheon out of a Golden Globe. Our next set of augments can set our items up perfectly. Now we get to craft exactly what we need at any time we need it, so we will have the perfect items for everyone if we're just patient. I went ahead and made a Bloodthirster for Senna because that will be translating over to Graves once we get him involved. Notice also I'm holding my gold right now. Next round, I'm going to have a really good shot at 2s and 3s, and as I mentioned before, that's what I'm really looking for. Thanks to the NPC round and Pandora's items, I get everything I want. I can put the Rabadon's Death Cap onto Seraphine, who I picked up during my roll. I can get the Chain Vest, and I have an additional tier, so now I can put the Protector's Cowl onto Zac. And these are my absolute key items for this build. I'm going to want to tank up Zac a little more as I go forward, especially once I can get him to 2 stars, if that ever happens. The thing with this build is that it has a lot of moving parts. I've now also picked up a Grave, so I'll be able to pull Senna out in the next round, and I've gotten a Rakan that's going to be key because that's going to tick Guardian for Zac as well. And although it's not complete yet, this is an illustration of how you'll want it to work. Graves and Seraphine are going to move in together. She's going to be helping to keep him alive, and he's going to be doing a ton of damage. It's time for the final augment, and given I have some perfect items on the perfect champions, when I am offered the golden egg, I go ahead and take it because I am fairly confident I'm going to be able to win matches and push forward with this. The one thing that's concerning me in this build right now is I'm getting closer and closer to a gold Seraphine, but I still haven't even gotten a second Zac. So my 1-star Zac is being asked to tank. Luckily, since I was able to craft the perfect items with Pandora's items, I'm able to stay in and keep pushing. It is Treasure Dragon time, and unless they're willing to give me a couple of Zacks, it almost doesn't matter what I take, because remember, it'll change. But that Giant Slayer will make an excellent addition for Graves, so I go ahead and grab that. I've also managed to find a Yasuo, but still not a second Zac. I'm nearly 3-starred my Seraphine, but I'm still suffering with a 1-star Zac up front. I tanked him up a little bit more, and this team I'm facing right now I was a little bit concerned about, but their Nyla was still 1-star, so they didn't have the real power in their assassins yet. And as we get ready to look at our next item, notice we're 1 Seraphine away, we have 2 Yasuos, but still 1 Zac. What item we pick up in many ways doesn't matter at this point because it can change. I go ahead and put the Last Whisper onto Graves because that's a great item for him. I'm able to find a second Pantheon, but still no more Zacs. Finally, a Zac! I just need one more. And one thing working strongly in my favor is that we have multiple teams fighting over Nylas, so neither one of them have the 2-star. That's what can really mess this build up, but a 1-star Nyla isn't going to get it done, and we're able to take this team out. And now we will get to see our egg hatch and what goodies it has inside. Maybe another Zac? And here it is. We have lots of stuff to play with. It's a matter of what we want to do with it. The blue blessing is going to go on our crazy plant lady. I'm going to be extremely hopeful and put the Visage onto Zac and think he's got to turn into a 2-star one day. Zeri will get a Spear of Sojin, and Pantheon will get the Dragon's Claw. And now he's a 2-star Pantheon. Now this team right here actually had a good chance to beat us if they were set up a little differently. They had both of their swift shots stacked on the same side, so it is reducing Xayah's speed. If she was in the far corner, she would have been attacking much faster and possibly could have bested us, but we got lucky with positioning and it brings us into the top 4. And we still don't have a 2-star Zac, but I know there's got to be one out there somewhere. And just to show this moment, we find our gold Seraphine before our silver Zac. He's really being elusive, isn't he? For our final item selection, it really doesn't matter. Since we're running Pandora's items, anything we pick up is going to change into whatever we want. Our goal really here is to just move on and get things set. I personally like to use Soraka over Bard if I get that choice. Notice I now have 2 2-star Graves and still not a 2-star Zac. A 2-star Yasuo, but not a 2-star Zac. And I'd say this team has been hoarding all the Zacs, but they only have a single 2-star one. We should do pretty well against this team. Their Shyvana is going to be very disruptive, but since she's not a 2-star, the damage output won't be that much, and we should be able to heal through it. With our 2-star Yasuo being able to also hold things down while Graves does damage, we should be able to push in and ultimately defeat this team, which is what ends up happening after a huge burst of damage from Yasuo. It's time to face the Xayah team again, and again, they have both of their swift shots clumped onto the same side. They could be doing so much more damage if Xayah was on the opposite side, but it allows us to push in and defeat them easily. And heading into what could be the last fight of the entire game, we still do not have a 2-star Zac. This team has upgraded to a 2-star Shyvana, which could be very disruptive, but it appears to me they're relying more on Rage Wing than on anything else. And with Shyvana, you really want to rely on Shapeshifter, so she gets a huge health buff. But due to her health not doubling, she goes down fairly easy, allows my team to push in for the win. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this build again. We'll do it one more time before we're through. And as always, hope you have an absolutely awesome day.